The Olympic break is done. The NHL is back. We're over halfway through the year, and the real winners and losers have shown themselves so far. We typically do a recap of the week, but since it's shortened and I'm out here sipping pina coladas on the beach like the Canucks come playoff time, we're going to dive into the teams and players that have surprised or disappointed all of us up until this point of the season. So let's dive into the storylines and tactics of the biggest winners and losers of the season so far. Now, we've done this before, but let's lay some ground rules here. There are probably teams on this list doing better or worse, but based on expectations and flat-out performance, they're making this list here today. So let us start with the loser at the number 5 spot. It's going to be the New Jersey Devils. The last time we did one of these, the Devils actually found themselves in the winner category. Unfortunately, they've exposed themselves by being absolutely brutal. Between the coach basically calling his team a bunch of eunuchs, saying they play with no balls, and the combination of a whole bunch of injuries, the Devils season has gone down the toilet. Primarily, it started with the Jack Hughes injury and us learning that this season, you should probably keep any sort of steak knives away from Hughes, as he got in an unfortunate accident that saw him cut his finger and be out for 6 to 8 weeks. There's been injuries for every team, but the major concern for the Devils has been their 5-on-5 play at even strength. Per Natural Stat Trick, they are averaging roughly 1.94 goals per game at 5-on-5. That is the lowest in the NHL, and they have the worst 5-on-5 goal differential in the league, which is no bueno. On top of that, the depth hasn't been great either. They went from being one of the fastest teams in the league to ranking in the bottom third of the NHL for most speed categories. The Devils used to be one of the deadlier rush teams in the league as well, but overall team speed has taken a hit, so their biggest strength has gone away. Then you have the goaltending, which hasn't been great either. The year started with Markstrom getting a nice little extension over the next 2 years. Since then, he's statistically been one of the worst goalies in the league. Also kind of funny that he put on the single worst goalie performance in league history against the Islanders this season too. Sheldon Keefe let him hang in there for a whole 9 goals, so he probably loved that too. But even when they can score, keeping the puck out of the net has been a challenge. When a season is going this bad, no one's safe, not even the 22-year-old Luke Hughes. Aside from the Devils thinking they're going to get his brother, Luke signed a nice juicy 8 times $9 million extension at the beginning of the year as well. But high expectations mixed with some poor play like the rest of the team has led to the Boo Birds all over him after a tough game. Throw in another injury along with all kinds of trade rumors surrounding this team, the Devils have been an absolute mess this season. They've gone from a playoff team to hanging in the mushy middle, and now it seems like no one's job is safe. Only bright spot is that Jack Hughes scored the golden goal for Team USA, and anytime he thrives, it is good for Devils fans. Okay, now let's go to the winner in the number 5 spot so far this season. It's going to be the Detroit Red Wings. Yes, the Red Wings are a weird one, I will admit. When you take a look at all their advanced stats, the Red Wings aren't exactly a team that looks like it would be one of the best teams in the East. In terms of zone time, Detroit ranks in the bottom 10 of the league in all 3 zones. Their expected goals aren't great, but who gives a shit, right? They're winning games, and for the first time in 9 years, they may finally make it back into the dance. Now, no, they're not just getting lucky. They do some things really well, and we got to start with the biggest thing, and that is stopping pucks. It's no secret, over the last few years, the Red Wings goaltending situation hasn't been great, but that is why they went out and got John Gibson. His overall season numbers is just above league average, but he has been an absolute terminator since December 1st of this season. He's gone on a run of 17-2 with a 1.95 goals against average and a .929 save percentage up until the Olympic break. He's been one of the best goalies in the league during that time, and it has Detroit in the mix to make the playoffs. Another guy I want to focus on too is the Mo Sheen himself, Mo Seider. This kid has emerged into a bona fide number 1 defenseman, as he was always touted to be. At 6'2", his smooth skating and smart anticipation allows him to close gaps early and often in the neutral zone. In the D zone, he's a monster. You can see just how well he can use his range to close in on threats and snuff them out completely with his physicality. He's unbelievable at using the body to protect the house, and his play has been crucial to the Red Wings' success so far this season. The kid is sick, and he's going to be the backbone of an unreal D-core in Detroit for a very long time. All I got to do now is just hope that they hang on and make the playoffs. Now on to number 4 on the loser side of things, we're going to have the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yes, you could argue that the Leafs are losers every year, and most fan bases will, but this year is a special kind of hell for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Losing Mitch Marner was never going to make the Leafs better on paper, but they were hoping they could make it up in the aggregate. Guess that's what you get when you watch Moneyball too many times. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong for the Toronto Maple Leafs, injuries being a big one. No Chris Tanev means that the Leafs basically can't break the puck out of their own end at times, and their goaltending duo of Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz have only actually played in a handful of games together when they're dressed in the same lineup. But we could say that about every loser on this list about injuries. Everyone's hurt this year. What hasn't helped at all, though, is that Auston Matthews essentially went missing for the first 3 months of the season for the Leafs. His poor play had everyone wondering whether this guy was permanently hurt, feeling the effects of no Marner, or a rather stagnant offensive system. The answer is probably a little bit of everything. The Leafs' sheer talent has them as a top 10 team in terms of goals for, but they simply never have the puck. They are dead last in the league when it comes to O-zone possession, and so they spend a ton of time defending, which is something they're not very good at. Just take a look at these numbers here and try not to laugh. Last in shots, slot shots, and rush chances, 31st in cycle chances, and 30th in goals against. That is a special kind of terrible, and one might argue is lottery-level bad defense. However, perhaps the worst part, or the best part depending on who you cheer for, is that they traded their first-round pick this year for Brandon Carlo last year. Also, they threw on Fraser Minton as well, who's having a breakout year for the Bruins and will likely be a big core to the Bruins' future. So unless the Leafs finish in the bottom 5, Boston gets their first overall pick. I guess they didn't learn their lesson with the Tuukka Rask trade, so they decided to do it again. That leaves them in the worst possible spot in sports. Not good enough to make the playoffs and not bad enough to get a pick, or any pick in their case. The high note is that Auston Matthews finally won something. The hope for the Leaf fans is that maybe he brings back some of that winning luck and wins a big game in the blue and white. That being said, they dug themselves in a big hole at the beginning of the season, so it might be too little too late to make the playoffs. And if they don't, well, welcome back to the decade of darkness, Toronto. We missed ya. Moving on to the winners in the number 4 spot, it is going to be the Pittsburgh Penguins. Of course, it is only fitting that in this spot, we have the Leafs' former GM helping Sidney Crosby get one last shot in the dance as a Penguin. Maybe the biggest reason why they're on the winners list is because no one expected them to be here. This season was supposed to be all about the rebuild. They fired their coach, Mike Sullivan, to bring in rookie coach Dan Muse, and there were all kinds of rumors surrounding the future of Sidney Crosby as a Penguin. But Sid, the middle-aged man, is the goddamn GOAT, and as long as he's around, Pittsburgh stands a chance to win a hockey game. However, it isn't just Crosby. The team as a whole has elevated their game, and it starts with special teams. They have a top 5 power play and a top 5 penalty kill. Starting with the power play, their success comes from unpredictability. The Penguins take the standard 1-3-1 formation and love to toss it in the blender with all kinds of movement. Sometimes you'll see Sid and Gino interchange in their spots to create a good look, and other times you'll see the bumper move closer to the goal line or net to open up that cross-seam play while crashing the net himself. This is where the Penguins almost shift into a 3-2 look with the high forward shorting the zone to create more chaos in front. The penalty kill also does a really well job when executing their entries. The Penguins are among the top teams in the league when creating shorthanded goals, and that's all from stopping entries. They play a 1-3, and their F1s are really good at angling the puck carriers towards the wall or into a tough pass at the blue line. Not only does it prevent power plays from setting up, but it also creates some offense too. Then you have Stuart Skinner, if you can believe it. This might go down as one of the better trades this season as he comes to Pittsburgh being lights out. He's still in his mid-20s. He's been to 2 Cup finals, and there's a lot of upside here for Pittsburgh, and they're seeing it instantly. I also like them picking up Sam Girard from Colorado in exchange for Brett Kulak. He's a good puck-moving defenseman who can help Pittsburgh become even better off the transition. The biggest hope and concern is if Sidney Crosby can stay healthy down the stretch here, because without him, the Penguins don't really stand a shot. But if they get in, they are one of the better storylines this season. Now, before we continue, we got to thank our friends over at SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video. SeatGeek is easily the best app for finding deals on tickets, whether it's hockey, football, concerts, you name it. Every ticket on SeatGeek is graded on a scale from 1 to 10, so you instantly know if you're getting a good deal. If it's red, stay away. If it's green, that's a gem, and you should be all over it. It's a World Cup year, and SeatGeek already has tickets available on the app. I've been using it for years now for Leaf games, Jays games, all kinds of live events, and you can do the same by using code HOCKEY2026 to get 10% off your next pair of tickets. Just hit the link in the description to download the app, and it'll automatically apply the code to your account so you're ready the next time you find a deal. So if you want a really good deal on seats as good as these, get the app, use the code, and enjoy your next game with SeatGeek. Moving on to the number 3 slot in the loser section, it's going to be the New York Rangers. What a colossal failure this season has been for the New York Rangers. Last year was almost as bad as they missed the playoffs, but this year they came in with a little bit of hope. Right before the season started, they slapped a C on JT Miller. They had some people go palms up as to why the hell they would do that in the first place, considering his past as the world's nicest teammate. But JT Miller can be an absolute dog who brings a no bullshit attitude to a team. Except it has gone horribly this season. I don't think there's a team on earth that hates playing at home more than the New York Rangers. One of the worst home records in the league. They've been shut out 6 times on home ice. They're one of the very few teams that should actually pay you to come watch their games. And looking at their stats, they don't really do anything well. Igor Shesterkin was the only thing potentially holding this thing all together, and then he went down with an injury that put him out indefinitely. The same thing happened with their Norris Trophy winning defenseman in Adam Fox. So the Rangers management said, screw it, we're writing another letter. That letter basically told fans to prepare for them being ass as they were going to retool. As a result, the bread man is gone. Artemi Panarin was shipped off to the LA Kings for a bag of sticks and some ice cream. The return was pretty disappointing for most fans, and before the Olympic break, their captain JT Miller said he has no clue what the solution is going to be. He had an all-time motivational quote saying, I don't know, maybe I'll just come back with a better mindset, I guess. Hey, but maybe who knows? He won a gold medal, so maybe he and Coach Mike Sullivan come back with that better mindset and pull something together. Could make the season a little less miserable, and it'll probably hurt their lottery odds, so I don't think management or fans recommend it. Enough of that depression. Let's go to the winners in number 3, and it is going to be the Buffalo Sabres. I think it's fair to say that most fans have been waiting for the day to actually call the Sabres winners. They've gone through hot stretches before and still missed the playoffs. 2018 is the big one when they won 10 games in a row and collapsed in the second half of the season. Hopefully that doesn't happen this year, but this year the Sabres actually look legit. Since December 1st, no team has been better than them. A 21-6-1 record before the Olympics has them in a really good spot to make the playoffs for the first time since the toaster was invented. We covered them on the channel before, but the Sabres are the very definition of a modern offense. In the zone, they play this positionless style of game that makes trying to stay with assignments a defensive nightmare. They lean on their mobile, puck-moving defensemen and their ability to get up in the rush and get off the blue line to give them really good looks on offense. However, the biggest improvement has been their defensive play as a 5-man unit. They've defended a lot better in their own end. The biggest area of improvement is limiting high danger shots against. Playing a box +1 or zone coverage, the Sabres have done a really good job in this stretch in limiting chances in the most dangerous area of the ice. Combine that with some pretty good goaltending, and the Sabres are sniffing the playoffs for the first time in years. All they got to do is not choke, which I don't think that they will, but the Atlantic Division is on steroids this year, so anything can happen, but if they keep playing like this, the Sabres are going to be back in it. Moving on to number 2 in the loser section, it is going to be the Winnipeg Jets. After winning a President Trophy in the 24-25 season, the Jets have become a disaster. It seems like the perfect storm in Winnipeg. Poor depth scoring, inconsistent structure, and injuries have left them near the basement of the league. Even just looking at their stats, their offense outside of their top stars have been largely non-existent, and with veteran signings like Jonathan Toews and Gustav Nyquist falling pretty short and not panning out, there's been no additional scoring to lift the Jets. Connor Hellebuyck being out for an extended period of time too basically put the nail in the coffin for this Jets season. Even if they did go on a run at this point, they're so far behind that it would just hurt their chances at a really good pick. Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor are having amazing years, and now Connor Hellebuyck is a gold medalist. I bet Jets fans were like, where the hell was this Hellebuyck come playoff time, when they watched him literally become a wall for Team USA and put on a performance of a lifetime. The expectations were sky high for this team after last year, but it has been a bitter fall so far. The good thing for them is that they got the pieces of their core in place to retool, rebuild the bottom 6, and then give her a go again next year. Now, coming in for the number 2 spot for the winners is going to be the Minnesota Wild. The Wild have become one of the better teams in the league this year, but they went to a whole other level when they picked up one of the best damn defensemen in the world, if not the best in Quinn Hughes. Hughes has transformed the Wild in all three zones. This tweet from Mike Kelly of the NHL Network puts it into perspective just how dominant he's been. His minutes are up. Puck possession is down as he's not relied on to be a one-man army as much as he was in Vancouver. He's got 67 fewer passes in the offensive zone, but 10 more assists thanks to the Carillionaire himself. Must be fun to play with him and his ability to bury. And it's all while having and maintaining one of the lowest turnover rates in the NHL. The Wild are a team that love their stretch passes, and you add in Hughes, who leads all D-men in stretch passes. He's been a match made in heaven for them when it comes to improving their transition game. As a result, they've become one of the best teams in the league. I still think they need to add a center to get to the next level, and they probably will with the trade deadline coming up, but they're looking to do something they haven't done in over a decade, and that's win a playoff series. Too bad they're in the worst division in hockey to do so. The top three teams are Colorado, Dallas, and themselves, and it's pretty much all but guaranteed that they meet the Stars in round one. A juggernaut will be packing their bags and heading to Cabo early, but as of right now, the Wild took a swing earlier in the year to make them winners on the season so far, and it has paid off. And before we head into the number one loser so far this season, let's go through a couple honorable mentions here. It could be anyone in the basement of the league. However, if we're going based on pure expectations, I think the Panthers are right up there. If they miss the playoffs, it would still be a disappointment from that franchise. As of right now, they are on track to miss the playoffs, and I think based on people's expectations of them heading into the season, this is just not what they expected. Even when Barkov went down in training camp, people like myself still had the Panthers' depth figuring it out, and hey, who knows? Maybe they still do, but the math isn't quite on their side right now, and I think all this hockey, including them sending the most amount of players to both the Four Nations and the Olympics, is finally starting to catch up to them. Goaltending has been a real problem this year. Sergei Bobrovsky has been the man the last 2 years, but this season he's been no bueno. If you ask fans around the league, they're probably happy that the Panthers' downfall is here, at least for this season, but if any team can pull themselves out of the depths of hell, it is the Panthers. That being said, if they do miss the playoffs bad enough and shut guys down for the year, it is entirely possible that they get the lottery pick and snag Gavin McKenna. I'm sure absolutely everyone would be thrilled with that. Injuries have probably hurt this team the most. Tactically, they still play the same way they've always played, and they've had to make adjustments as key players have gone out. But to play a true Florida Panther brand of hockey for 82 games is very difficult, and if you're not healthy or committed, it just doesn't work, and this year, it shows. But if I was a betting man and I had to pick one team to make me look like an asshat, it would be the Florida Panthers. But the biggest loser, without a singular doubt on this season, is still the Vancouver Canucks. Not many franchises got handed a worse L than the Canucks the past couple years. They were one game away from beating the Edmonton Oilers to go to the conference final in 2024. They didn't do it, and then they legit had a soap opera of a team rift in 2025 that saw JT Miller and stud superstar at the time, Elias Pettersson, get out of hand to the point that they had to ship out Miller because of it. Pettersson got an extension. He's looked like a complete shell of himself ever since, and this year just started in a disastrous way that their captain Quinn Hughes said, "Trade me because I'm not going to re-sign here." So their only hope now is to tank for Gavin McKenna, making them statistically the biggest losers so far this season. Now, on to the number one winner of the season so far. It is still the Colorado Avalanche. The Avs did struggle before the Olympic break, but when this team is on, they are easily the best team in the league. They play with a level of pace, not only north-south, but east-west as well, that is just so hard to contain, built off the skill set of Makar, McKinnon, and Necas as well, too. The only black mark and concern for this team come playoff time is their power play. For all their weapons and firepower, they have the worst ranked power play in the entire NHL. They're the best team by a mile when 5-on-5 in terms of goal differential, and that is good for playoff time. But in a playoff series, there comes a moment where your power play needs to step up and score a goal. It's entirely possible that their play in every other area of the game can still take them all the way, but it is a concern. It is also possible that the worst thing for the rest of the NHL is that Nathan MacKinnon missed an empty net in the gold medal game and then got handed a silver medal along with a Webkin as consolation. A motivated and pissed off Nate Dogg and Cale Makar could go down the stretch here, torching the rest of the league. It is also possible that Makar, McKinnon, Necas, and Taves are all burnt out from the Olympics too and could have slower second halves, which doesn't fare well for the Colorado Avalanche. But for the time being, they've put themselves in the spot to be the biggest winner of the season so far. The last thing I'll mention is the Tampa Bay Lightning, who could have easily been in this spot too. Other than the Avs, Tampa looks like the only team that can keep up with them, at least in the regular season. We know damn well, though, that the regular season usually doesn't mean anything, so while it might be a potential Stanley Cup final, I bet that there's some team that no one has as a favorite to come out of the blue and raise Lord Stanley. So, who do you have as the biggest winners and losers of the NHL season so far? Let me know in the comments down below. Next Sunday, the weekly recaps will be back as the schedule returns to normal, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss a single thing for the NHL season.